Thank you. I now recognize the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Ms. Carter, is it true that HBO bought the rights to Sesame Street?
No, it did not. It developed Sesame Street entered an arrangement with HBO for a number of years.
And it was a paid arrangement, correct?
Yes, which allowed us to get the series for free during the period of that time.
How much money was transacted during that?
I don't know. Sesame Street is a private organization. It is separate from ours.
Okay. Ms. Maher, what about Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA as propaganda?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you repeat the question?
What about Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA is propaganda?
I don't believe that is propaganda, sir.
Okay. Well, in January, North County Public Radio, and that's a subsidiary of NPR, had Daphne Brooks, who apparently is a black feminism scholar, on its show where it was hosted by the host Brittany Lewis, and it says, have you ever watched something on TV and thought, okay, now this is propaganda? Have you ever had that moment? To which Daphne Brooks replied, whenever I see Lee Greenwood singing Proud to be an American.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Right View Nation channel. Today we're diving deep into a shocking congressional hearing featuring Repever Tim Burchett taking NPR's CEO, Katherine Maher, to task. If you've ever suspected that NPR, our so-called national public radio, has a leftist bias, buckle up, because this hearing exposed it in broad daylight. Before we get into it, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the truth that the mainstream media won't tell you. Now, let's get into it.
I believe that represents the individual we interviewed on air, not the position.
And did you say there's no bias on NPR?
That is not a position
that is
of
not a
NPR.
biased statement, ma'am. That is not even both parties wrap themselves around this song every time there's a national conflict. Lee Greenwood sings it, and he does a beautiful job. But you say there is no bias in NPR.
That is that individual's opinion, and she, of course, is entitled to it. But that is not the position of NPR. Ma'am,
you said in your opening statement that you were going to be transformative. And I believe you failed to do that. Let me ask you, why did you call President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath in 2020?
Congressman, I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I regret those tweets. I would not tweet them again today. They represented a time where I was reflecting on something that I believe that the president had said rather than who he is. I don't presume that anyone is a racist.
You don't believe anyone is a racist?
I don't start by presuming anyone is a racist, sir.
Okay. Has NPR or PBS ever conducted an internal review to assess whether conservative or right-leaning perspectives are fairly representative news and programming?
Congressman, what we look at is the distribution of people who listen to our work, and we can tell you, and I'm proud to tell you, that for our digital, our podcasts and our website, the distribution of Americans who come to NPR does reflect the political distribution of the nation. In fact, the distribution on our websites, 33% of folks who come are conservative versus 28% who are liberal, and the rest identify as independent. So the largest group is conservatives who come to NPR's websites.
So you believe that most Americans think President Trump is a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath?
I don't believe that at all, sir.
Okay. Ma'am?
We obviously are constantly looking at the voices that we bring forward. We take to heart our commitment to bringing forward perspectives from across the country. Our programming comes from our local stations. And I mentioned in my opening comment the series that we did out of Arkansas, Southern Storytellers. That's just one little example. 10% of our schedule is news. The rest of it is either children's programming or programming based on history to give us all a collective expression. And we're constantly looking to making sure that we're bringing forward a diversity of viewpoints and perspectives and experiences that really do make up the fabric of this country.
Okay. NPR senior editor Leonard, it's been mentioned before, but he was quoted as saying an open-minded spirit no longer exists within NPR, and now, predictably, we don't have an audience that reflects America. Yet you stated that the audience does reflect America. He was suspended without pay for 5 days for saying this, and of course he eventually resigned. in April 2024. You've also stated that federal funding is essential for NPR to operate, but also claim only 1% of your funding comes from the federal government. Which is it?
Mr. Berliner was suspended for the outside work policy, not for what he said, sir. In terms of federal funding, the federal funds go to support our operation of the public radio satellite system, which enables all of our local stations to be able to communicate information and broadcast, including...
As stated earlier, ma'am, funding is very fungible. It flows wherever it needs to. I don't buy that argument.
We do have
I
a
wonder
separate
if any of
balance
the
sheet for
members
that,
of the
sir.
committee would comment real quickly. Would you agree that Real America's Voice, Newsmax, Fox, or News Nation, if they were to see federal funds, would you all support that? Yes or no? Mr. Ullman? Yes or no?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
I actually don't have an opinion about that.
Ma'am?
I don't have an opinion about that, sir. That would be Congress's decision.
Thank you, Chair Lady.
First off, Burchett asked the NPR CEO point blank, "What about Lee Greenwood's 'God Bless the USA' is propaganda?" And you know what she said? She denied that it was propaganda. But then he dropped the receipts. NPR's affiliate station had a scholar on who straight up said that when she hears "God Bless the USA," she thinks it's propaganda. Now, let me ask you, America, what exactly about being proud of your country is propaganda? What exactly about loving the flag, standing for the anthem, and respecting those who fought for our freedoms is brainwashing? Nothing. But you see, this is how the left operates. They don't say it outright. They let their so-called experts say it, then pretend their hands are clean. But we see right through it. Burchett went even further. He asked the CEO if NPR is biased, and of course, she dodged and danced around it, saying NPR is balanced because 33% of their website audience is conservative. Now come on, folks. We all know that website clicks don't determine bias. The content does. The language used, the stories they choose to cover, and more importantly, the ones they don't. Why do they highlight every negative headline about conservative figures but bury stories about corruption on the left? Why do they push narratives about right-wing extremism while ignoring left-wing violence? NPR doesn't have to come out and say they're biased. Their actions speak louder than words. Then Burchett dropped a bombshell. He confronted the CEO about her own past tweets where she called President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath. And suddenly she's all apologetic, saying she regrets those tweets and wouldn't say that today. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because she's sitting in front of Congress, getting exposed for the leftist activist that she is. These people will say anything when the spotlight is on them, but we know how they really feel. These are the same people who spent 4 years calling Trump supporters racists and deplorables, and now they want to play innocent? Not happening. Now, here's the part that should really make your blood boil. NPR keeps claiming that federal funding is essential to their survival, but then, when pressed, they admit it's just 1% of their budget. 1%. So which is it? Do you need taxpayer dollars, or are you just milking the system? The truth is, they want that government funding because it gives them credibility. It allows them to masquerade as neutral when they're nothing but a taxpayer-funded arm of the Democratic Party. And you want to know the real kicker? Burchett asked if networks like Newsmax or Real America's Voice should get federal funding. And guess what? Nobody wanted to answer. They all sat there, hemming and hawing, because they know it's not about public service, it's about controlling the narrative. So, what's the takeaway here, patriots? It's simple. NPR is not a neutral news source. It is a left-wing propaganda machine that takes your tax dollars to push their agenda. So what can you do? 1. Stop supporting NPR, turn them off, unsubscribe, and let their ratings tank. 2. Call your representatives and demand they defund NPR. There is no reason your hard-earned money should be funding leftist media. 3. Share this video far and wide, because the mainstream media won't tell you the truth, but we will. The fight for free speech and fair media isn't over. We have to keep exposing the lies and holding these people accountable. I'm counting on you to be part of that movement. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you want more truth in your feed. And as always, stay strong, stay proud, and stay American. God bless.